Welcome to TC Tiahui Talks, Tiachucha Centro Cultural, located on Tataviam land in the northeast San Fernando Valley, is rooted in ancestral knowledge, culture, the arts, literacy, and social justice as a means to personal and communal transformation. It is a place where hearts and minds have united for change for over 19 years. Join us as we share the stories of personal transformation and our understanding of the world that unites us as a community. We must remember that another world has always been possible. Tiahui, a Nahuatl word for adelante, to move forward. Like a spiral, together we move towards a better future, cognizant of the resiliency we carry from our past.
Hello, my name's Atlaket Satochli. I'm one of the co-hosts for today's podcast.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Gomez. I am another co-host for today's podcast. And today we have Karina Ceja, who is the organizer to Celebrating Words Festival that Tiachuchas brings to the community every year. So I guess we'll let her introduce herself further, but if you can do that, please.
Yes, hi. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Tochli, for having me. My name is Karina Ceja, and I am the CWF Celebrating Words Coordinator for Tiachucha.
Cool. So we have a little icebreaker. I don't know, Tochli, do you think we should do the icebreaker question first?
Yeah, let's do it.
Do it.
Okay, so we can get into the mood of what of today. So icebreaker question is, what character did you pretend to be when you were a child? And trying to invoke that, remember that imagination that we had as children. So what character did you pretend to be? So I guess whoever, let's see, who's ready? Who's ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, when it came from my own organic imagination, sometimes I pretend to be an old man. And I think that's a part of just the whole baby trip that children will do and try to experience adult life or imagine what it would be like. But for some reason, I was one classy old man, and I just with that European classy old man stereotype. And other than that, I dress up as like Spider-Man a lot, and my family would tell me. And then I dress up as Spider-Man like during the summer. And my dad has this memory of me going into a hospital and being Spider-Man. So when they try to talk to me and ask me about like, oh, you're Spider-Man, like why are you just or whatever talking to me, I wouldn't say anything because I was Spider-Man, and Spider-Man is mysterious, and Spider-Man is moves in silence until he just goes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was my inspiration as a kid.
I can go next. I was thinking about this question, and I don't know if I can point out a specific character that I saw myself as like as another real character, but I know that since I was a kid, like I've always tapped into like this, my competitiveness always showed up when boys kind of made me feel like I was less and I couldn't do as good as them. And so there was always this inner Gadi that would like fight that off and try to prove them wrong. And I remember that since I was a very little kid, that I was always like, I could do better than you. It doesn't matter if I'm a girl. And so that's just something that not necessarily that was taught to me, but it was something that came instinctual and it came from like within, and so that's what I thought about when you asked that question.
Oh, okay. Cool. So what I think about with what character I was, I feel like I was also a mix of things, because a lot of times I was really, I think my imagination was inspired by watching or hearing stories. So, but I didn't see myself as the hero of the story or whatever. So I would pretend to be a mixture of different characters, or and have different powers. Like, let's say the witches in the Disney movies are always they're really, really cool, like women, strong women that
Yeah.
have powers and everything. So I would mix up that kind of stuff with other characters like Aladdin and how he can jump from one
Mhm.
building to the next building. So I would pretend I would be those, like a mixture of all that kind of stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
But yeah, but it would have been cool to, like, I guess if we were younger, like to be all these characters, and see where our imagination takes us,
Yeah.
yeah. But
That's
I guess want to open it up. Toshi, you want to start with the first question, or?
Yeah, so today's focus is on the Celebrating Words Festival, um, which basically just brings together our community to do exactly what it's called, to celebrate words. It's the power of palabra that it gives us our ability to speak truths and to share love or share fear or embrace all parts of words. And so because Tiachucha is so passionate about literature and cares about sharing that, it's just Celebrating Words Festival has such a rich history of spoken word, the gatherings that have happened in the past. And of course, because of COVID, this year's Celebrating Words is going to be different, but maybe we can start with the history of celebrating words. Yeah, just explaining what it is and also how did it start.
Yeah. Thank you, Tochli. So Celebrating Words started in 2005. This year we're, having our 15th annual festival, and the festival started as an opportunity to provide a space for our community to use literacy as a way to express ourselves, right? To use words as a way to share and to engage in creative ways of imagining our realities. And I think it's really about bringing community together to allow them to understand and to know, or to tap into their full potential as as artists, but also as people that have gifts. And it became, I think when it first started, it was definitely focused on performances and just having this huge celebration with like super talented acts. Like I remember Chicano Batman has been on our stage, La Santa Cecilia, Las Cafeteras, and a bunch of array of other artists, like LA based artists. That was awesome and super cool. And we've always had the certain components that we still have now, and I think it has grown into a space where family really comes to engage in creative workshops and also get resources from the resource fair, or learn about different things that maybe weren't accessible to them before. And
Yeah, those are very coherent goals of what the Celebrating Words Festival has accomplished in the past. And maybe it'd be good to talk about why it's important that we have the Celebrating Words Festival in the Northeast San Fernando Valley.
oh yeah, totally. I think having grown up here in Pacoima, I can say that we're kind of a community at the margins, away from the center of this like area, which is like downtown LA or maybe like Los Angeles, right? And so I think it's really important, and it was important for Tia Chuchas to bring this because we needed that space, and we needed an outdoor, public, accessible space where people can come and engage and participate in the arts and participate in literacy, right? And have access to things that maybe I know I didn't have growing up. And so it's really important for us. And we pride ourselves in being the longest running arts and literacy festival in the San Fernando Valley. And I think that shows how much of a need and how much of a want exists here, and why we need to continue to have it.
How have you seen CWF, let's say, evolve over the last 15 years? Or how many years is it? 15 years.
Yeah, 15. Yeah. I think the one of the biggest things, like I mentioned earlier, when it first started, it was definitely it's always been a huge celebration. And the evolution, I think, has come from, you know, watching some of the videos I kind of watched to before this interview, where it went from us having a kids corner to having like really focused, you know, creative engagement areas where we partner with local artists and local organizations to really like have a space where it's not just a corner and it's not just, you know, maybe like arts. It's just really intentional, right? So I feel like my goal, especially since I came on, was to really focus on building on that, right? Because I wanted to make sure that there was more engagement through the arts and through literacy, and there was more focus on ensuring that folks and families that came were definitely were participating, active participators in you know, these kind of workshops that maybe they haven't done before, and to allow them, you know, to see that they too have talent, they too have, you know, creative abilities. And so I think that's one big one, you know. And the other one is also, you know, I think our resource fairs have definitely grown. I think, you know, having built with so many organizations here in the Valley, but also in LA, to bring those resources to Pacoima, you know, now in the more recent years, has also been, you know, a point of growth. And then also just location, right? Like we went from having it at a public park to like, you know, a local community college, and then moving from Silmar to Pacoima, because we saw the need here. We saw that, you know, there was a lot of folks here that, you know, wanted it and needed it. And so I think we've definitely grown a lot in the last 15 years, and I'm happy to see where it's at now.
A part of the like changes that must have came from the organizing the Celebrating Words Festival because of COVID, must have like just like impacted the how it was initially going to be structured. And I just want to ask how that like transformation's been, and also what should people expect this year, because it's not going to be a one-day in-person event.
Yeah, thank you. You know, this year we were really planning for our largest, you know, festival in the last 15 years. It's our quinceañera, and we're growing exponentially. We were moving to a new location from Pacoima City Hall to Vaughn G3 Academy, and you know, working with more orgs, working with more artists. And you know, of course, it's out of our control what's been happening with COVID, and you know, the festival was put on hold, and you know, we had to figure out how we were going to move forward. And luckily, our ED Michael is a super like media, you know, nerd. I don't know what else to describe it, but you know, I think he was really excited. I think we saw that so many people, so many organizations are leaning into this technology as a form to connect us all, right? And we have Zoom, we have you know, all the social medias that we already have established. So I think, you know, he proposed it. I didn't know how it would work out, but I was down, and now we're here. And so we are definitely, you know, it's going to look different this year. It's all virtual, and we have a whole week of programming that we have planned for y'all. And it's going to start on June 22nd and go through the 28th. We have workshops, live workshops, creative engagement workshops that are going to be happening every single day, Monday through Friday. We also have these like small, like pre-recorded videos that we partnered with local artists and makers, and they're also going to have like short videos, you know, to share with community, so that all of this can essentially be available for them in the future. And every night we also have, I think from Tuesday on, we have different programmings, from writing workshops, like author readings. I think we have something planned with the Young Warriors, and then we have, you know, a book release with Make a Poem Cry, some DJs, and then Noche de Baile on Saturday with some, you know, yoga and some book sales in between. And then we're gonna end with a super exciting kind of like second annual, but kind of first of its kind book drive-through giveaway, you know, adapting to these new ways with the COVID and the social distancing. So we're excited.
As soon as you said drive-through book giveaway, my mom turned around and gave me 2 big thumbs up and a huge smile. I think families are really excited about
Yes.
that. I've been sharing that with a lot of people too, just that that's going to happen. I think the Celebrating Words Festival this week should be really great.
So I was wondering, because this is a literacy festival, you're organizing a big literacy festival. I just was curious about what you feel the importance of literacy is, and and its role in social justice and imagination. So if we can talk about that, that'd be cool. If we can hear that from
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. That's a really great question. You know, I think, you know, I love that you bring up imagination, and even in the icebreaker, because it's something that since I've been working at the Achuchas, you know, Luis and Trini have always kind of invoked this spirit of imagination, right? And the reason that's important is because we need imaginative you know, youth and people and next generations to build a future that we haven't seen yet, right? Something different, something new. And so the reason literacy is so important to us is because we know that it opens up so much, it opens up world to people, right? And it's a way for people not only to tap into their imagination, but also tap into different truths that maybe are not taught to us in schools, right? In our LAUSDs, in our even at universities, I can, you know, attest to some of that. And I think right now, especially, you know, being in these times and for Black liberation, for, you know, ending white supremacy and ending so many structures of oppression, I think books and literacy are definitely the source for us to like self-educate. You know, we can no longer really depend on institutions or governments or, you know, these systems that have kind of like kept us in the dark for so long, that using books and resorting to reading is really, it's really like that that important for us to like unlearn these things that we've been learning, but also kind of, you know, hear from different authors, different backgrounds, different experiences about their own history, their own stories, and their own narratives, right? And so literacy has always been super important for the Achuchas, and I think those are the reasons. And right now, because of what's happening everywhere, I think it's even more, right? It's like being it's almost like a urgency, like to get you those books that you want to get, so that you can also learn, you know, and not have to depend on other people to teach you. But also, like, you know, it's for all ages, like from little kids that can start learning about racism at a young age, to older folks can start, you know, unlearning why police is not good, right? Or learning why they're not good, and why we don't want it. So I think literacy is that. I think it's just so much knowledge and so much access to people's experiences that it really offers that to our communities, you know, to grow. And that's why we got to read books. Gotta read more books.
Yeah, we definitely have to read more books, because knowledge is power, and the people, and all power to the people too at the same time. And if knowledge is power, then all power to our knowledge. And,
yes.
Recognizing right now we're in times of Black liberation, ending white supremacy, and knowing that this whole like global shift of awareness to like make these necessary changes happen, also like got rekindled throughout the time for planning for this year's Celebrating Words Festival. Now, from what I remember of last year's Celebrating Words Festival was like super impactful, because the Trauma to Transformation program had a lot of art and literature to give away, that was focused on like educating people about mass incarceration. So I think it would be good if we could just talk about that, what happened last year, and talk about like how this year is also tying into our like global shift of ending the narratives of this like dominant culture that's really not dominant, because the people are recognizing that we're all united and we all have power.
Mhm. Definitely. I can speak on it a little bit too, and I think Rebecca, as a program, coordinator for trauma to transformation, you could also chime in. I love to hear from you. And last year was the first time that we incorporated the topic of educating our community on the issues of mass incarceration. And we were able to get some funding so that we can use art as a way to educate. And I think Rebecca and her team just did a really amazing job of taking the information that's already out there and sometimes not accessible, to turn it into these really powerful visuals that I feel like really, really impacted people, right? Like everything from like the percentage of I don't remember if it was specific, but maybe women that were incarcerated, to like percentage of Black and Brown disparities of men incarcerated in the prison system, and then just like a whole exhibit, that was really like intentionally curated to reach our audience, which is mostly communities of color here in the Northeast Valley. And so I think a lot of people had a lot of great things to say about it in our survey, and they it seems like people left with it being impacted, to them, making an impact to them. And so but that was a lot of Rebecca's work and trauma to transformation message, kind of like complementing and adding to an already established like arts and literacy festival. And so I think it was pretty amazing.
Thank you. I'll just add in trauma and transformation's goal is to, it was started 2 years ago, but it was really inspired by the work of Luis Rodriguez and the work of people who have been doing this for a long time at Tiahui's. And finally, we're able to do a project 2 years ago from trauma to transformation, thanks to the Arts for Justice Fund. And the whole goal of the project is to change the national dialogue on what mass incarceration is and how people view people who have directly impacted by incarceration. So we do that through storytelling, and we do that through the arts, so visual arts, poetry, theater, and classes like that. So that's the whole goal, is because a lot of times people don't know or don't feel like it's an issue because the privilege is not because of privileges, and maybe also because they don't know anybody that's been directly impacted by incarceration. So we were happy that we got to do an exhibit, like to say the stats, like so that I can get, because art can do what art can do to many people is get to some kind of core in you to feel a certain way, and to be like, oh man, I have certain feelings I didn't know I had before. So like seeing, like, let's say reading a poem or seeing an art piece that says how much money is going into the education system versus the police. That was like one of the visuals that we try to bring in at the Celebrating Words Festival last year's. And during this year, we're gonna have Make a Poem Cry, which is an anthology of poetry that's of poets from the Lancaster State Prison who are part of Luis Rodriguez's creative writing class. So we're excited to be able to share this, and some of the folks that were actual writers to the book are also going to share the poetry. The editors are going to, Luis and Kenneth Hartman, we're going to share a little bit more about the process. So that's going to be June 26th at 8 p.m. It's going to be live stream, so folks can hear a little bit more about the work that we're doing, and the importance of like literacy to changing the mindset of not just even changing the mindset, but some people already have experienced this, like policing, racism, classism. And sometimes we don't know that's like, because we live in this world that doesn't have, I guess, that denies that as an issue. So literacy and doing personal narrative is really important to be like, this is an issue. What you're feeling is real. Like, you know, there's studies even behind it. Like the New Jim Crow is a really important book for to show that this is that racism that's embedded in the prison system against Black folks is and embedded in not even the prison system, but the society we live in is it's not, we're not imagining things, it's real. It's like she lays out studies and court cases and things like that. So literacy is really important. So I'm just like would like to, I guess that would be cool if we talked about the importance of, I mean, I guess like what's an important author that you all feel was important to you when it came to your own your consciousness, and in a way, like maybe even just legitimizing yourself as people of color in your experience, or like some kind of book that you've learned from when it comes to social justice and imagining a different world than the one that we are living in right now. Are there any books that were important for you all in that way?
Yeah, I can say that you know, being a young brown woman, first generation, you know, college student, also kind of leaning into this like this idea that assimilation was the way to succeed in this country. I was a teenager at the time, right? But I remember going into Chicano studies classes and getting these books from, like, you know, Sandra Cisneros. I think the other one was Ana Castillo. And at the time, like for me, it was important for me to connect to my identity, to my roots, right, and to my culture, because that's what I needed. And then as I got through, you know, as I was going through college and I was learning more about other authors and other, you know, books out there, I realized that, you know, looking back, some of the ones that really impacted me as far as like my political position, but also like important things like learning your own power, learning your own voice. I think was like Audre Lorde, Sister Outsider, and like some Bell Hooks books that really, you know, impacted me in a way where I feel like I became even more empowered. And it wasn't just, you know, it wasn't just culture. It wasn't just like maybe like, you know, identity, but it was like all these other things and all these other oppressions that have been impacting me as a brown woman, you know, growing up in this society. And so you know, a big shout out to all those authors that really guided me along the way.
Yeah, I can share some books that really had an impact on me. And I'd say this one that comes to mind, it's called Future Memory. And it wasn't even about really like social justice, but it was like a metaphysics book about our senses and how some senses can connect with other senses, and we can taste our thoughts, and like the way we like all the ways like our feelings are like intertwined to other feelings. And it was a really like spiritual book that talked about how we're connected to like all time and space. And I think it helped me understand like helped me just be more like grounded in doing social change work and like embracing responsibility like that, because it went beyond like my human conditions and more of like me trying to seek out what's my like spiritual existence. And I think like recognizing my humanity beyond identity through a book of like in other people's stories of their like deja vus or ways that they've like experienced the present moment but seen the future coming. And I think it had a big like impact on me too. And I'd say another huge thing has been poetry, and the way but just the communities does poetry, because then that's shown me how everyone sharing their own words, it matters, because everyone's thoughts are valid and everyone has their own like emotional experiences, and one of us can get vulnerable, then more of us can get vulnerable, and so all of us are being super vulnerable and sharing like our deepest truths with each other at an open mic or something, and that's been really moving and impactful in my life.
Thank you. Um,
Yeah.
I feel like I feel you with being into your going into Chicano studies. I feel like when I first started at Cal Poly Pomona, I went into ethnic studies, and I was fortunate to be able to go learn about not only how whites learn about the structure of white supremacy and what it is and how it impacts our communities in different ways, like privileging certain ways of thinking and being over others, you know, like class, and then like addressing colonization, how has that impacted us, you know, as our community. And I just think, you know, like I'm I feel very thankful that was able to read books like, let's say, like Borderlands and the Gloria and just like being able to navigate different worlds that helped my imagination of being like, this world isn't the right way of living, you know. So just different examples like that. Let's say even learning about what you all do with your house, your home at the hormiguero, and being a collective, even that concept, like learning about how to be a person and like work as a collective in the communities. Like I feel like I learned a lot from y'all with just your existence, you know, and seeing how y'all like I guess live your lives, carry yourselves, like learning about like, you know, what the zapatistas do. So I think literacy, like I feel like I've gotten a little piece of a lot of different things that helped me with my understanding and consciousness growing up, what it means to how the systems that we are living in has impacted the communities in different ways, to understand and undo like anti-blackness thinking. And I just wonder, you know, if we were able to everybody get ethnic studies classes since they were kids, if that kind of thinking would have like been got, you know, like undone since kindergarten or whatever, you know. So then I'm thinking about, like, let's say family members are really problematic when racist the way they think, and I'm like, I wonder if, yeah, just if people were to know our true history, like it kind of shows, like, I feel like if how do you see yourself, your own people, and all the other folks, you know, like, and the anti-blackness that's in our communities. So yeah, I just have a lot of thoughts about that and literacy, but I really enjoyed hearing what y'all shared right now.
All this talk about literature really has me excited and wondering what some of the books that Celebrating Words Festival picked out to give away for the book giveaway.
Let me tap into that. I need to look at but yeah, we have, I think we're about, you know, about a little over 650 books that we'll be giving away for all ages. And you know, we focus on making sure that all the age groups have, you know, a book that they can take home. So we start with, you know, the toddlers, the children's, the middle schoolers, the young readers, you know, high schoolers, and then adults, and even like Spanish books. We want to make sure that even like our abuelitos and abuelitas, or our tios that don't read in English can also have access to literacy. Let me look this up. And then some of the books, there's so many, I can't remember. I know we have some little libros in there. I think we have the new Richie Valens. We also have San Salvador. We want to make sure our Central American community sees themselves reflected in our book selection. We have some other, let me see. We have some of the children's books are, we have Princess and the Warrior, which is Duncan Tonatiuh. He has really beautiful visuals. And, you know, we have Julian is a Mermaid. It talks about a little boy a young person that is trying to navigate gender, right? Since they're really, really young. We have like books that are like be bold, be brave, and it motivates young kids to be brave and to be bold and to speak their minds. Everything we have a what do we have? Civil Rights Then and Now, a timeline of the fight for equality, and that's a young adult chapter book that we got this year. We also have I think some of the adult books we can move into, like All About Love. The Rose That Grew from Concrete, I think, was out within like 15 minutes last year. So we know that people want it. We wanted to, add it again. We have a TC Press book, Counting Time, like we count stars. And I think that's a book that was put together by Luz and Trini when they went to Honduras to do writing workshops with young girls in the school for young girls. And we have, let's see, I think this year we also did El Alquimista. So in Spanish, we have a couple, Yo no soy tu hija, tu perfecta hija mexicana, which is one of our recent, what is it? The book club. They recently had that one, I think early this year or later. And then we started adding some, also, I think given that we've always been very conscious of how we add the books, right? And what type of books we have. And I think in the ways that as Celebrating Words that we can do better is to ensure that we don't always just include one or two books on racial justice, but that we have it as a foundation for, how we want the books to impact families and to impact our communities. And so we added a couple of books. Ghost Boys, I think Ghost Boys is kind of a story. It's for young readers, and I think it depicts like a fictionalized story of Trayvon Martin and what it would have been if his spirit, kind of like told his story after, what happened to him. And I think that's for like middle school age. We also included From Black Lives Matter to Black Liberation, and that's a book written by a Black queer woman, telling the story about how Black Lives Matter and how that started in Ferguson and where it's at now. And then we have a couple of other ones, The Undefeated Kids, Push Out, El Color de la Justicia. And so we've just trying to really make our book selection really, really broaden in the different ways, but also focus on ensuring that because our schools and because our society doesn't really teach, about racial justice, that we make sure that our book giveaway, which is a direct connection to our community, because they get to take these books home, that it's important that we keep that focus, on these important topics that are affecting and are not just affecting, but really like asking us to step up and learn more about and challenging us to end these forms of oppression, and yeah, so that's a little bit of the book giveaway that we have planned this year. And I don't have an exact total, but I want to say it's over 650 books that will be given away for all ages. So, and that's happening on June 28th from 10 a.m. to about 1 p.m. here in Pacoima. And you can always get more details through our, social medias and our website. So.
This would be a great time to share information about how people can get connected and how they can learn more about what to expect, and also where to expect updates this in terms of like the next workshops and all that.
So we have a Facebook invite that will be updated more frequently to give information as it comes out, but also like our Facebook and our Instagram are always great ways to stay up to date. I feel like our Instagram is like the first place we post, and then it goes everywhere else. So I encourage people to follow us on Instagram at Tiachuchas. And, all of our flyers will have a bit.ly link so that it facilitates a little bit easier for folks to be able to find where we're going to be at. We'll be streaming through the Zoom, but also I believe, on Facebook and YouTube, and also archiving all of those programs and all of those workshops in our channel. So I also encourage you to follow our Tiahui Centro Cultural YouTube channel, so that you can have access to all of that and be updated. But I think those are the main ways, and everything will be virtual. So, you know, we know not everybody has the technology, but if you do have, you know, a laptop, an iPad, any of that, you can definitely catch us on these like public, you know, forums. So yeah.
So then, would it be possible for people that are, say, out of state or not from the area to also engage in the workshops in their own way?
Yeah, totally. I think, you know, just like we talked about how, you know, we can no longer have right now an outdoor festival, and so it changes the way that we're used to doing things. I think there's always positive things that come out of like these like big changes, right? And so now people from all over the world can potentially join us if they want to, you know, and it's easily accessible through these live streamings, and through the technology. So like I said, it's you know, it's it'll be on our Instagram and our Facebook, and people can connect with us there.
Awesome. I want to take a moment to just recognize the impact Celebrating Words Festival has had, like, on my tongue and my life, because like just the times that I've been there, it's like, yeah, we're really celebrating words, and how like wondrous is it to just celebrate words with a whole lot of gratitude, and just like all the ways that I've been like moved and have moved others just by hearing people speak, or speaking myself, or reading writings, or sharing my own. It's a reciprocal like domino effect that we get to like share positivity and love, and like imagine the world we want to live in and create, and it all comes from here and out, and we speak that truth. So I just really, I'm grateful to Celebrating Words Festival for existing in our community for so long.
Thank you.
What would you say is your favorite memory from the experience?
Oh man, I'm trying to think. I know that was a question in the in the prompt, and I wanted to find a specific one, and you know, like I remember, I guess it's a little bit of my journey with Celebrating Words Festival. Like I remember, like, you know, showing up to, I think it might have been the second annual, and it was at the park at Carrizo, and not going with anyone. Like I found out about the festival, and I was like, I want to check this out, right? And I believe that year was when Las Cafeteras, maybe, oh, and La Santa Cecilia performed, and that's why I went. But I remember that year being like, you know, I was sitting on the grass and I was just enjoying the festival, and seeing something come together that I had never seen before in my community, right? Like I had been already organizing as a student organizer on campus, but that was also like within an institution that doesn't always have, you know, people feel it's accessible to them. And so I think I remember that time so much because I was literally able to just sit there and observe, right, and take it all in, and see the power of something like this existing in your community. And, you know, having grown up here, like we've never had that, you know, we've never anything like it that I can remember. And so I think those are, you know, definitely one of my favorite memories, just because I've come a long way, right? I've come through the festival as a volunteer on different components, different committees, and for, you know, Michael to approach me and ask me to coordinate it, like I feel like it's such a huge honor. It's you know, and for me, because of who I am, a lot of pressure, right, to do something that's super like amazing and incredible for our community. But I think also some of my favorite memories is seeing, you know, one of the things we do at the festival every year is we culminate an 8-week music class, right? And I've seen how music has really impacted young lives and young people that, you know, I have memories of seeing, like, for example, like just like the young folks or the kids come in and they're super shy, they're super timid. You could tell they're nervous. They've never held a guitar before, like a song or jarana. And you go through the 8 weeks, and then those kids are no longer the same kid that came in that first day. And you see how much confidence, how much how much how much just light that it brings to their life, to know that they have a potential in them, that they've tapped into this gift. And it's all because we offer these free classes or donation based classes. And then at the end of their 8 weeks, they get to perform it on a huge stage in front of like thousands of people, right? And so i think the folks, or the young people that have participated in those programs and have shared the stage for Celebrating Words, I think they will forever be impacted by that. And I think that's one of the thousands of reasons we do this, but that's definitely one of my favorite. And I know that I've seen the impact that music and music as an art has had in like people around me. And so I love that. And I'm happy that we get to have it. And I give a shout out to Tia Chuchas and the folks that started this. I actually think Michael and I think maybe Wendy were the first ones to organize the first year, I think. Yeah. And I might have been also like, just, hey, we have, we got a grant, we want to volunteer. And I might be wrong, but that's what I remember. And, look at them now. And so I think it's a great opportunity for our community. And I'm excited to be a part of it.
Those are some awesome memories. I remember, I think probably the first one I went to after I was older, because I'm sure I went to the ones when I was younger. From what I can remember, I was in high school, and I went, and I was getting all like super into jazz. And right at the time that I got there, there's this band playing Mulatu Astake covers.
Oh.
And I was flipping out in front of everyone, like jumping in front of this like Ethiopian jazz music playing band, and I was just barely getting to know Kelvin. I was like, "This is Mulatu Astake." I was like telling people,
"Oh, that's cool.
This is Mulatu Astake. They're playing this Ethiopian revolutionary music," and so I was like. That was, and I had just walked in, like I had just gotten there. I was like, what? So that was really cool. Last year when I was volunteering to help with the book distribution, just seeing the like eagerness of like my community and the both like bilingual families, and just how excited everyone was to get a book, and how willing people were to do the surveys and to and to get a book, and just watching them go away as the day passed by. I was really grateful to be a part of that. Yeah, those are some of mine though.
I didn't mention that, but that's a big one. What about you, Rebecca?
I think I'm coming at it as like helping out kind of way.
Oh, okay.
The memories of everybody like working together. We're not in our setting. We're not in our usual setting. We're like at the only Celebrating Words festivals that I experienced are we're at the Pacoima City Hall, and it just, I don't know, it just feels really good to, once we see it all happen, like it's kind of like putting all the abstract like all together, making it happen, and us all together like making it happen. I think that's where that's where I'm approaches. Like I feel like I'm fond of seeing everybody in their shirts and like going, like everybody just like doing different things. I think I like that feeling too of seeing it all put together, and seeing people come and like are really into all those like activities. The art engagement activities, and having dialogue, and people who, let's say, are part of like TC, like let's say the Mexicano group, they like work together too. Like just seeing people work together, that makes me happy. And seeing the community coming together and like enjoying what Tia Chucha family and the extended family is offering, and like and seeing people receiving it, that's what I feel like it's just makes me happy just remembering. So yeah.
No, I love it.
to many more, celebrating words, memories to be created, and an open
Yes.
invitation to all people listening to please be a part of this festival. And people are welcome to join and be a part of it no matter where they're at, because a lot of it's virtual this year. So for people that want to keep up to date, you can follow Tiahuichas on Instagram and find Tiahuichas on Facebook, and it's coming up. I'm really grateful to have this been our first episode of Tiahui Talks. Thank you so much, Karina Ceja, for being a part of this, and thanking Tiahuichas, thanking myself, and thanking you, Rebecca. And really grateful for how this hour went.
Me too. Very grateful to hear both of you and see both of you on the screen.
Yeah.
Everything. I don't know if there's anything you would want to add, Karina, to this.
No, I think, well, I'll finish with just a reminder. It's the festival, the virtual Celebrating Words Festival is happening this year from June 22nd through June 28th. And, stay tuned for all the programming on our social media. Join the Facebook invite, join the YouTube, so you have access to all that. And I really hope folks join us from like all over, all over the country, all over the world if possible. And I want to thank Tochli and Rebecca for having me on their very first podcast for Tiahuichas. I'm excited and also looking forward to many more and to keep hearing from y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you again for joining us. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast and follow Tiahuichas on social media. Please support our online bookstore. You can find the links in our podcast bio. Stay safe, stay creative. Tiahui.